going to see debris show up on the radar in that area. The thing we would be looking for is a lowering. You see our scale at the top here. As you see the green show up, and below we would see a little hole show up there where we've got some debris. So right now, this is good news. At least the radar is not indicating that this is a tornado on the ground, but the radar is indicating that there is circulation and possibly a developing tornado on the west side of Chester. So if you live in Chester or the southern sections of York County, you're going to want to be at the lowest level of your home, interior room. That means put as many walls between you and the outside to protect yourself from flying debris. And again, as we always say, if you know somebody in this area and you're watching this, whether it's online, on TV, or on social, please call or text them or DM them anything you can to let them know that there is a possible tornado on the west side of Chester. I'll kind of show you this relation to the Charlotte area, because the first thing I'll get is people in the Charlotte area wondering, is this thing going to continue tracking to the northeast? And the chances are it probably will eventually go towards Rock Hill and then towards that area southwestern Mecklenburg County if it holds together. But again, you could see that circulation. It looks a little weaker now, but there's certainly broad circulation right in this vicinity. The reds and greens show us, you know, what's going on there. Circulation within that cell pushing off to the north and east. Let me widen this out just a hair, and I'm going to flip over. I'm switching between two radar sources, and again, there's the couplet. I can still see it there. It's moving basically West Chester Road, Chester School Road, moving to the northeast towards Armenia and then the Lowrys area. So it's tracking off to the north and east. So it's clearly moving pretty quickly, because every time we get a volume scan of the radar, you could see how fast it's moving. It's moving at, again, about 40 to 45 miles per hour. So let me do an updated storm track on the circulation. I know it's raining and there's lightning and thunder in most areas, but as this moves to the northeast, these are the cities that'll be in the path of this storm. So if you live in one of those towns, you need to be seeking shelter right now. And don't read into the exact time, because this could pick up speed or slow down a little bit. So give yourself about plus or minus maybe 5 or 10 minutes on those times. So Rock Hill, this is an early heads up. 3:30, if the circulation holds together, it would be on the west side of Rock Hill, coming up around 3:31 this evening as that moves to the north and east. So this is a, you know, if you're in parts of that southeastern York County area, you've got some time. You just need to start getting your preparation together, maybe get that room, that safe spot cleared out, get the bike helmets if you can, just in case this circulation stays on the ground a little bit longer. I'll widen this out and loop the whole thing, because there was a ton of rain out there. We're seeing widespread showers and thunderstorms as this big line has been moving in from the south. We were hoping we wouldn't see as much severe weather with this in our area, because we're seeing a lot more to the south. There's a couple more tornado warnings down in the Midlands of South Carolina, and that's where the atmosphere is a little bit more unstable. Up in our area, the rain we were hoping would stabilize things, but not enough that we've seen this circulation spin up probably within the last, I'd say, 15 to 20 minutes as that line has been moving to the north. So let's go back to the velocity data. Again, I'm not seeing it strengthen at all, but we are seeing the circulation still evident there. So almost to Lowrys. McConnells would be next up, and then heading towards the Rock Hill area, Newport, and southeast of York. So if we were to continue moving this northeast, I'll make sure I got my speeds correct here. 40, so I'm gonna track this at 40 miles per hour. This will be a little bit more accurate. We'll track the circulation again in this direction, and this will give you an updated storm track here. So you see Lowrys right at the top of the list, then Dinber, and then down towards Rock Hill, 333, Tegakay, if it holds together, Fort Mill area, 340, 343 or so. And again, you're not in the warning yet, but this is an early heads up that if this system continues to spin like we're seeing to the southwest, we might see additional warnings. Now, what I'm hoping is the rain that has fallen in those areas from Rock Hill north is stabilizing the atmosphere, which would keep this from being surface-based, and that could possibly cause this not to be as much of a rotation as it moves north. But when it's not surface-based, it doesn't tap into the rotation quite as much as you see further to the south, where we have more heat and humidity and basically the fuel for these storms to keep going into the afternoon hours. So if I widen this back out, you can kind of see all that rain over us right now. Take a second for the radar to load here. You see all the rain and even the lightning over the Charlotte area now. This would actually help stabilize the air a little bit as that cell pushes off towards the north. The area of concern, again, is just near Lowrys and McConnells. So in those vicinities, if you're in that area, you need to be seeking shelter immediately until that system passes. And again, the warning's till 3:30. Now, whether they'll keep the warning up for that length of time, we'll have to see. I think these are going to be short-lived spin-ups, so you're not going to see really long warnings. I think you're going to see 25, 30-minute warnings at tops as these systems move to the northeast. Now, we're waiting to see if there's going to be a tornado watch issued for parts of South Carolina. It does not look like these would be issued farther north, but we still can't rule them out potentially as those storms move north. So again, if you're in parts of York and Chester County, remember your safety tips here. Find a safe place in the middle of the home. That green room is where we want you to be. Most interior room, if at all possible, on the lowest floor. If you don't have a basement, go to the first floor. Even if you have a multi-story complex, get to the lowest level you can. Hopefully friends with your downstairs neighbors. If not, go to the lowest floor you possibly can and get towards the middle of the house. That would be the area we'd want you to stay in shelter for until this storm passes. Again, that middle interior room is going to protect you from all that flying debris. So again, the tornado warning currently for our area is in effect for York and Chester County, but you see to the south, a new warning just issued near areas in Newberry County. So those are other storms down there that we're going to have to watch going into the afternoon hours. And there's another warning west of Columbia. And again, why are those important? Well, look at the track. All these are kind of pivoting to the northeast, so potentially we could see some of those rotational signatures show up closer to home. In the Charlotte area, heavy rain falling with cloud to ground lightning. So you're not going to see anything as these storms approach. It is going to be just a wall of water as these push north. So let's go back to the velocity data. You can see the rotation now northwest side of Chester, just south of Lowrys. So this is about to move over 321 there on the north side. And that's going to push just through the 321 corridor in Chester County, heading towards the south central southeastern part of York County. So McConnells, and then eventually the west side of Rock Hill, and maybe the Leslie area if it holds together. I'm going to switch to the other radar source. You can see, a little better idea on where that circulation is. Right there on Highway 97. So there's the circulation. It's a little broader than it was earlier, rotating right in that vicinity, but this is heading right for Lowrys. So if you're in Lowrys, you need to be in the shelter now. Do not wait. Get to that lowest level. Get away from the windows, outside walls. This is heading right for you. Let me do an updated track here. I won't track it. I'm going to track it up to the Lake Wiley area. So that'll give you a good idea right there based on where the circulation is moving northeast at 40. I have not seen an updated speed. Let me quickly look at the radar, see what the speed of this is moving right now. A little bit slower now. It's actually dropped a little bit. So I'm going to update that track to reflect that. So the speed is down to about 30 miles per hour. And again, this is the individual circulation. We're going to track it at 30. And so that's a better idea based on that new speed. So Lowrys, it's there literally within 2 minutes. McConnells, 323, Rock Hill, 344. So that slower movement is giving you a little bit more time. That is basically where, and I'm looking at the rotation. Let's watch the radar sweep by here one more time. It does look like the circulation might be weakening just a hair. We don't know if that's an indication that it's weakening or it might be going what we call a cycling, which basically means the storm is beginning to spin back up. But this is what I'm hoping for because of this moving northeast into this bigger shield of rain that you see over areas basically to the south and west of Charlotte. That's an area that, we've seen a lot of rain today. This could likely help produce some stable air. So all that rain over the Piedmont of North Carolina might actually help us out a little bit. It might continue to weaken this, but you can see the other warnings down to the south. Boy, what a ton of warnings now in the Midlands of South Carolina. Those we're hoping are going to stay to our south, but this one right here in particular, moving northeast at now 30 miles per hour, is moving into an area where there's a big shield of rain. And what I mean by that is all this rain that you see over the Piedmont right now, from Charlotte to Monroe, down towards Waxhaw, Rock Hill, Fort Mill area, this is stabilizing or cooling down the lowest levels of the atmosphere. So this rotation will have a tough time connecting to some warm humid air near the surface because it's getting used up by the rain here. So that's a good sign that this would weaken as it pushes northeast. But this line and then the line behind it all have some of these signatures, these little couplets we call them, in these lines. So we're hoping that they continue. Here comes a sweep of the radar. You can see it coming out of Mountain Island Lake here. So this is moving pretty quickly. It's basically on 321. So McConnells up here, Lowrys right here, Rock Hill, York and Clover up in this area, and then Lake Wylie here. This is going to pass south and east of York and Clover, southern part of Lake Wylie, Rock Hill, Fort Mill, Tega Cay, Carowinds area. That's kind of the general area. Then Pineville, Steel Creek would be the areas crossing over the border as it moves into southwestern Mecklenburg County. So I'm going to take a look. See, I've got some people down in Chester, one of our spotters. I have not seen any reports down in that area. I'm getting a lot of reports. The sirens are going off in the Lake Wylie area. So a lot of questions. You're technically not in this warning. So why are the sirens going off? Well, you got to remember, sirens are set off at the county level. So even though this very small section of York County is in the warning, they can't just set the sirens off for that. They have to set them off for the whole county. So you're getting a little bit of over warning going on here where the sirens are going off. Not a bad thing in this case because that storm is heading in the areas where the sirens are going off. But you're technically not in the warning in the Lake Wylie, Fort Mill, Rock Hill area. They're just setting the sirens off because that's based on the county level, not these individual areas where the circulation is actually occurring. So if I look at the velocity data, which is showing where the rotation is, much weaker signature there. So good news, as I'm expected, the signature is falling apart a little bit because I think it's just moving into more stable air. The heavy rain, while not great for the evening rush, is actually going to help kind of squash some of these storms as they move north and east. But down to the south, you can see why we need to be on guard this evening because we've got other warnings down there. This one in particular, down towards Newberry, you can see this line which extends from Union County, South Carolina, all the way back down towards Newberry. There is some strong winds in there, and there's a little couplet showing up right there in the middle of your screen right there. There's a circulation down there. That's moving northeast as well. So let's hope that the rain ahead of it, just like we're seeing in York County now, it looks like that circulation is weakened quite a bit. So I'm feeling fairly confident here that they're going to let this warning expire. But I would be watching this cell very carefully. And just the same, if you live in Rock Hill, Fort Mill, Tega Cay, the southern part of Lake Wylie, what you're going to want to do is you're going to have to just stay very, very weather aware here for the next couple of hours until these lines move through. So it's a good idea to make sure you have some way to get a warning, and at least 3 different ways, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of having multiple ways in case one method fails you. You've got some other options, and one of those ways is obviously our app. And I would definitely, if you can see this on your screen, use your phone, scan that QR code right now. You can download that app. This will give you the alerts, but also our live streaming like you're watching right now. You can watch it on your phone while you're in your safe spot. So it is a great resource that I highly recommend that you use on a day like today. And let's be honest, again, tomorrow, we might be dealing with a similar setup late in the day. So let's go back to the reason we're on the air right now and streaming is this tornado warning. Now it's been whittled down a little bit for parts of York and Chester County till 3:30. We've only got about 13 minutes left on this warning, which does look like they're going to let this thing probably expire at 3:30. At 3:17, the rotational couplet was about 6 miles north of Chester near Lowrys. So it's basically crossed over 321 and is now moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. So it's beginning to slow down a little bit. Let me retrack this because what I'm going to do, and when you see me switch to the velocity data, I'm tracking where the circulation is. I know it's raining everywhere. There's lightning, there's probably some wind, but what I'm primarily tracking here is where the circulation is, and because that's where the suspected tornado is. So we're going to track just the circulation, which is just southeast of Lowry, maybe 6 to 7 miles north of Chester. Let's move this northeast. I'm only going to track this out about 35 minutes. And you can see there's the cities in the path. So Edgemoor, 344. Rock Hill, even slower movement now, means it's probably going to be closer to arriving sometime close to about 351 if it holds together. But I have a good feeling that they're going to let this expire based on the signature just kind of falling apart on the radar here. So we're starting to look at the circulation, and it is really kind of collapsing. So this is a view of a different radar source. You see me switching between the two. That circulation is kind of gone in that area. So the radar is actually indicating that the rotation is weakened to the point where you can barely even tell there's a broad circulation. So earlier we saw this tightening up where the bright greens and reds were getting really close together. Those have widened out and kind of flattened out a little bit. So we would watch this, a couple more scans. So this radar scans at about 1 RPM, which is 1 revolution per minute. Every time it comes around, it rescans the storm. If you see that starting to broaden more and more and more, you see it weakening. But if it starts tightening up with each scan, you know it might be re-intensifying. What happens in these storms is sometimes the circulation will weaken and a new one will form and kind of spin around the backside. Usually we see it rotating around the backside. Is the first one, what we call a clue. It basically gets sucked into the inflow and a new circulation will form back here and rotate around. So every time the radar comes around, you see the scan beam there. That's what that is. It's a giant dish shooting a beam of microwave energy out right there. We don't see it kind of spinning back up. So that's a good sign that you don't see that tightening back up of the circulation taking place, which is pretty much now, if there is any rotation, it's right there on the York County line. And again, the warning is going to expire in 10 minutes. Usually what happens in these cases, even if the warning were to be canceled, they can't cancel these with 10 minutes to expire. So what they do is they just leave them up. They got to cancel it earlier than that. And so I'm just reading the chat with our weather service there. Even though they expected that the circulation is weakened like we're just talking about, they're not going to reissue another warning for York County. So good news there that we're not going to see another warning, and I didn't expect that we would based on what I'm seeing on the radar right now. I'm going to look at these other storms just to be safe real quickly here. So you can kind of see this line. It's on 321 from York down to Chester. There are some little hints of gust of wind in there, but nothing that would be prompting another warning anytime soon. And when you look at the closer in radar, which has the greatest view, which is from Mountain Island Lake, there's even less circulation in that line. So this warning is going to expire here at the bottom of the hour. But again, it might not be the last warning of the evening because we've got more rain to the southwest, and there is a couple areas we're watching, one more towards Newberry County down there in South Carolina. You can see I'm going to move the map. That's got a warning till 3:45. That could impact Chester County again as well. So we got to keep an eye on that line. But I will tell you, the fact that it's raining already, I know it's not great for the evening commute, as I mentioned. It is not a pretty evening out there. This rain is going to be around for a while. That rain is doing us a huge favor right now. It is stabilizing the atmosphere. It is eating up the fuel for these storms to the south to feed off of, and the threat for strong or severe storms will start to shift to our south, and that will keep most of this severe weather kind of away from us. The only line I would really kind of keep an eye on still is going to be that one down towards Newberry. You can see, I mean, that line down towards Columbia, that's a nasty line actually. The Midlands of South Carolina are definitely more under the threat for tornadic activity as we go into the afternoon hours. And just a heads up, if you are traveling in and around Charlotte anywhere this evening, this heavy rain is with us for a while. It is going to be here probably past 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. So evening plans, outdoors, not a good idea in the rain. We've got cloud to ground lightning. A lot of people tell me they've been hearing the loud thunder out there. It's not, I would call like a summer type setup with a ton of thunder and lightning, but there's enough out there that you need to stay indoors until those storms pass just from the lightning threat alone. And remember, there is no severe weather criteria for lightning. Lightning is not something that a warning is issued for, though it is a very dangerous part of every thunderstorm. The tornadoes, the wind, and the hail is usually what issues our warnings based on those criteria. So again, tornado warning continues for now about another, looks like I'm looking at my watch here, 7 minutes or so to the bottom of the hour. Here we are at 3:23 for really now the Chester-York County line along 321 and east. I know the sirens are going off in areas around Lake Wiley. Those sirens are going off because they're county-based. They will set them off the whole county. even though the warning is not for those areas. So I hate that they do that, to be honest, because it's a lot of false alarms. The great thing about the warning technique now, we only warn for where the rotation is, which is right there in this kind of pink or fuchsia polygon. That's where the circulation is. It does take up a small section of York and Chester County, but you don't warn for the entire counties of York and Chester because most of these areas not seeing the rotation that we're seeing right there east of the McConnells area. As I'm looking at the circulation is getting weaker and weaker in Chester County. Let's go back to that real quickly. So almost nothing there, but I will show you that storm now near Newberry. It does have a little bit of circulation still showing up there. So that warning is down there. And the reason I'm watching that one is because eventually if that circulation were to hold together, that would put it up into Chester County again, closer to 430-ish or so if it were to hold together. No reports of damage with this. I did not see any debris show up on the radar. That's a good sign as well. Probably a good indication that we do not have a tornado on the ground. The reason that we put the warning out is that the radar is showing us that a tornado is beginning to form. The radar can in fact confirm a tornado because when you pull up our debris detection, we can actually detect debris in there. And when you look at the warning, you don't see any debris. So debris would be in the yellows, oranges, or greens. You see solid colors of maroon there. That means that's all rain. Raindrops are all similar in size, so the ratio is a 1-to-1. When that ratio drops, you have something big next to something small, like say a shingle and a piece of wood or a branch. Those are different sizes. You get lower values of correlation coefficient, which ends up down here, and it shows up as debris on the radar. We're not seeing that right now, so that's a good thing. We're just seeing that circulation. So coming up here, we're 5 minutes out from this warning going away. We're going to return to your programming already in progress, but coming up at 4 o'clock, I'm going to have continuing coverage on this. We do have some crews out in the field. If you do get any reports of severe weather in your area, you see some damage and you can safely do so, please send us those images via our app as well. Remember, if you download our WCNC app, I'm telling you, this app is going to be a great resource for you. It's going to do you two things. You can scan that QR code. It's going to give you warnings. You can watch our stream. And if you go to that Near Me feature, which is down at the bottom, you can upload those pictures and videos and send them right to us. And why are those important? It's really important to help warn people that are one county over or maybe one city over, because if they see damage or video of damage, they're more likely to seek shelter than just staring at this radar. I can go and tell you all the cool things going on the radar and the ways that we can use it to detect tornadoes, but video and pictures tell the story much better to the public. So again, tornado warning is going to continue here for a couple more minutes. We're 4 minutes out. I'm going to double check that we're not going to see any more warnings issued right now. I do not expect any more to be issued from the Weather Service. I don't see anything on the radar that would lend me to believe we're going to see additional warnings, at least in the next 30 minutes or so. But this line back here, I'm going to put a track on it because this is the one line that still has me probably saying I would keep a close eye on it for a while. I'm going to track this off to the northeast. This line, while it does have one tornado warning till 3:45, it also has some strong winds. That would be back in the Chester County area between 4:15 and 4:30. So if there's going to be another line to watch, it's that one right there. So if you're in that line, you can see Winnsboro as well as near Richburg, and then Lancaster towards 518. That would be the line we'd have to watch for an additional severe weather warning of some kind. But as I mentioned, I think the good news is the fact that it's pouring over many areas, we're eating up some of that instability. To the south, it's a different story. If you look down in South Carolina, what's going on down here is you got warm, humid air coming in. Those storms don't have any rain ahead of them, so they're going to be much stronger in Georgia and South Carolina. As you go north, the rain is kind of taken over, and that's going to allow for the instability to be less. So we expected mainly heavy rain this evening with a low severe weather risk. Well, this will probably be one of the warnings we have this evening. The flash flooding risk is going to continue, though. Tomorrow, we're going to see round 2. So once this rain moves out tonight, please do not let your guard down, because there's a very high likelihood we could see additional severe weather late tomorrow. Likely not in the evening either. It probably would be later into the nighttime hours, maybe even into the early hours on Thursday. And of course, I'll be talking more about that coming up at 4 o'clock as well. But tornado warning for another 2 minutes here. We're going to stay on to the bottom of the hour until this warning expires, and that's typically what we're going to do. We're going to either stay on to the warning expires or the threat has completely passed or is no longer imminent. Because this is still a warning here for 2 more minutes, we'll stay on so we can join the bottom of the hour here. Let me go back to the velocity data. The good news, there's no circulation there at all. In fact, it's completely flattened out. So the warning is going to expire here at the bottom of the hour with little fanfare. I do not think we're going to see anything with that line. The second line is back here between Union, Whitmire, and Newberry. Crosses Interstate 26 right there in the upstate of South Carolina. And you can see that warning still 345. So we'll keep an eye on that line. But the reason we came on the air and we're streaming right now is because of that storm. I'll loop this a couple more times so you can see the movement. All of that heavy rain is rotating to the northeast, and because those 2 lines are heading up this direction, you need to stay weather aware through the bottom of the hour. Just checking. Hear my computer going off here. That's another warning to the south. So that's an additional warning, which is down there in South Carolina. I will pass along that this storm near Newberry that I was referencing, I just got a funnel cloud report out of that one. So, excuse me, that's not a funnel cloud report. That was actually a confirmed tornado with that storm west of Newberry. So you can see it popping up on the screen right there. So the warning for Chester and York has expired. I'm going to keep a close eye on this. We'll have you completely covered here at WCNC Charlotte. But for now, we're going to return to your programming already in progress. Please stay weather aware this evening.
Is suing her former tenant, Penny Soto, for property damage and HOA fines.
Order. All right.